Back at the SoonerSaloon. It is June 2022. We've still got a couple months left.
Hey, we're less than 100 days away from the first game.
We are. And typically at this time of year, you'd be anticipating the release of the latest NCAA game because they would typically come out in, I think, early July. So we're not doing that anymore.
Give it one more year, though.
I did hear a rumor, though, that the new college football game is supposed to drop between January and March of next year, which means it'll drop March 31st of next year. So, anyway.
Who's making it?
EA Sports.
EA.
It's not NCAA, or it's not NCAA football. It's called college football, I think.
That's fucking lame. Whatever. All right.
Yeah, except they'll have,
If it has a similar play style to Madden, I'm going to be pissed.
No,
that's why NCAA
but this is
was
a whole
better.
different topic because we're going to get way too in depth on EA and NCAA, and I have a lot of complaints about that, but I don't want to talk about that right now. I want to talk about Oklahoma football.
We're in the Sahara Desert that is the off season, so we're thick into it. We're like Moses, 40 years in the desert. That's what we're doing.
All right, so...
Anyway.
What's up, guys?
Well, I want to talk about Oklahoma's quarterback depth because going into this year, other than offensive line, that was probably people's biggest question mark. Not saying that Dylan Gabriel isn't capable. He 100% is, and we all have. I think all of Sooner Nation has his back, and they think he's going to be the guy, and I think he's going to be a really good starter for Oklahoma. But knock on wood, if he gets hurt, and I'm not wishing that, I'm just saying, we've been concerned. Who's going to replace him if that happens? You know what I'm saying? We had Nick Evers. Micah Bowens hadn't really done a whole lot, and then Ralph Rucker was literally QB2 last year, and no one knew anything about him.
So let's hope we do not have a repeat of 2009.
Yeah, see, exactly.
Exactly. That was bad.
That was rough.
Landry Jones did become a good quarterback, down the road, but first year you're like, oh, who's this guy with this mustache?
We can talk about Landry Jones another time, but I just want to say, how much better of a quarterback do you think he would have been if he had a whole year that didn't destroy his confidence and he got to learn under Sam Bradford?
Oh.
He could, I think, that's a conversation for another day, but I think he could have been maybe even much better.
I'm going to say this. Landry Jones obviously he has a different ceiling than Sam Bradford. But say he doesn't play that first year and he doesn't get that development that he had that first year to go. Obviously it's a big role, to step up and replace Sam Bradford. But, at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure he was the passing yards leader for Oklahoma. And he was decent, but he wasn't an all-time great QB, I would say.
I would say he was better than decent. I would say he was. Yeah. I'd say he was good.
He was good. He was good.
Good to great, but then there's elite. Elite is Kyler and Sam.
Yes.
Maybe Baker. Yeah. So
Baker all day. Baker all day in college. I'm talking about college.
Okay.
We're talking about college. That's it. We're talking about college.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I'd say Baker's. Sam Bradford's accuracy is.
It was good.
The best I've ever seen.
But Sam Bradford couldn't run for shit.
No, he could not. But he had Phil Oldholt protecting his blind spot. Come on, dude.
Yeah. If Sam Bradford ran, he was doing a front flip.
Getting knocked the fuck out.
Yeah. Exactly. Anyway.
Going back to quarterback depth, who knows when they're going to get a concussion? Who knows when they're going to get an ankle sprain? Who knows when,
Thank God we don't play BYU our first game. I'm just going to say that now.
Hey, we still have some really good talent, though, Emerson. Like you said, we've got Dylan Gabriel. Obviously, it's chaos, in the offseason. Caleb transfers, Spencer transfers, but you get Dylan Gabriel, who has the experience with Jeff Lebby, and guess what? They were both young in their careers. Jeff Lebby was a young coach when he was coaching Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel was a freshman who played extremely well. You can't tell me that they both haven't progressed through their careers and haven't proven themselves. So it's a huge get that we have Dylan Gabriel, and our depth behind it is really good as well. You know, we get General Booty, hell of a name, General
Yes,
Booty.
sir.
Let's go. Nick Evers is going to be a good quarterback in the future.
Yes,
And
but he's a
then-
true friend. I'm just saying you wouldn't want him starting, halfway through the season if Dylan Gabriel went down. That's what I'm saying.
I agree.
And, I mean, Nick Evers is he's like $170 right now. I mean, he's still kind of gangly. I haven't
But
seen
we
him in
also
person, but
we also get the backup
that's what I hear.
Pittsburgh quarterback Davis Bevel as well, and he's got some pretty good length to him as well, standing at 6'6".
Yeah.
I don't really know how good he is. I watched this highlight tape, and it's not totally blow you away, but it's potential and it's depth of that quarterback position.
Yeah. And I think with Oklahoma, I mean, regardless of they had some people leave this offseason because of everything that happened. They're
What
still
happened on the off season, Emerson?
It's a horse.
Some guy named Lincoln or something. He was definitely not going to be the coach at LSU. All right, that's what we know for sure.
Right.
He was not taking the LSU job. Anyway, so I can't even remember where I was going with this. Dylan Gabriel's obviously capable of starting, but like you said, General Booty, Ben Harris has been there a long time, Ralph Rucker. You have people that I think Oklahoma. Here's where I was going. I think Oklahoma's still probably the most talented team in the Big 12 this year, outside of the quarterback position, and I think they still have that, with Dylan Gabriel as well. So if he does go down with this quarterback depth, you have multiple people that I think can run the offense.
Yeah.
And get the ball to the skill guys and still win games in the Big 12.
With that
Maybe
being
not
said,
like
with that
Baylor,
being said,
Oklahoma State, that'll be tough. But, most of the other teams you have a good shot against still.
right, and with that being said, Emerson and Taylor, would you guys say it's fair to say that Oklahoma still controls their own destiny to win the Big 12 and possibly even get into the college football playoff?
Yeah, I do, 100%.
Yes.
100%, because you can't tell me if Oklahoma goes undefeated this year, they won't get into the college football playoff.
Honestly, they should probably be
Yeah.
a favorite in every game that they play.
They last year was a god awful season, and they
Baylor's gonna be
still almost made it. And they had the sluggish play all year, and they still almost made it to the college football playoff. So you can't
They were
tell me.
9-0.
Yeah, and you can't tell me. And they dropped a game to Baylor, and they still had a shot to get back in it if they would have beaten Oklahoma State twice. Because if they would have beat them in Bedlam in
They would have been
Stillwater,
there.
they
They
would
would
have
have been
played them
there.
again. So what I'm
And
trying to
I
say
think
is
Baylor-
absolutely.
I think Baylor is the scariest opponent to
Yes.
Oklahoma this year in the Big
Yes.
12. And they did lose some talent. They lost Petrie, that stud safety
them at
nickel
home.
hybrid.
Yeah, we get them at home, and we get Oklahoma
And
State at home.
It's
this
at
year.
home. So, but I will say, Baylor, they're going to have a nasty defensive line. So it's going to be another physical game. But I think this year's Oklahoma under Brent Venables will be more ready and willing and able to win a physical game
Fellas, let me tell
than
you
Lincoln
something.
Riley's.
Let me tell you something. What I saw at the spring game, when you got 75,000 plus in that stadium, the crowd's going to be a little bit more electric under Brent Venables. So home field advantage is going to start to matter a little bit more, like we saw in the early 2000s era.
It was crazy then.
Yeah.
I bet their hot dog prices were probably similar to what they were.
Probably $20
then
bucks
when
for
we
a
went
hot
to
dog.
The spring game, spending $60 on 5 hot dogs. So.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, just imagine
absolutely.
how much beer is going to be now that we can drink.
I know,
that's
right? But under Bob Stoops, going and playing in Norman was a nightmare. It was so hard to win in Norman against Oklahoma, and you saw that slowly slip away
Yeah.
with Lincoln Riley.
I think with Lincoln Riley, what happened was he was so closed off to the media and any access about his football team whatsoever.
He
and,
was.
Say what you want about the media. That's how you generate buzz throughout a fan base for, the 8-month off season.
Yeah.
You got to have stories. You got to have looks into spring practice. You got to have, these guys look like they're really developing in the weight room, whatever. That's, people are going to read that when they're sitting in their office job like, oh, that's an interesting Oklahoma storyline. Something like that. Things like that will make the fans more interested and more willing and able to go tailgate and get rowdy because, everyone was saying Oklahoma was a national championship contender last year. And, you would have thought, I'm not saying the fan base isn't energetic and stuff, but it was just missing that, electric atmosphere in Norman.
Especially when you're a top 5, a top 10 powerhouse in the country. You need a little buzz, and you need to keep your fans upbeat and ready to go. Every single year, and I know it's the same with you guys, we're chomping at the bit to learn what we can and figure out how this team's gonna look when it comes, September when we're playing our first games, and sooner or later they're gonna put on the pads and it's gonna be time to hit each other. We don't know until it really comes down to it. We don't know how this team's gonna look.
It's funny because you never know every single year as an Oklahoma fan. You never know how good Oklahoma is almost all damn season because at the end of September, you're like, okay, that was a good September. Okay, that was a rough September. They go undefeated, they kick everybody's ass in September, and then they drop a goddamn game in October, and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And then they go on and they win the rest of their games, and you're like, okay, well, what was that? Or they'll play a really sluggish September and then just ball out in October and November and then just take a shit in January, and you're like, what was that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think just the last, I don't know, probably 8 years, I guess you could go back, there's just certain games, regardless of what time it is in the year, there's a game or two where Oklahoma just looks sloppy. They get a lot of penalties. They're not really looking like they're ready to play. They're not hyped up. It's you got to bring, I know it's the Big 12, but you got to bring it every game. K-State's a physical team. Baylor's a physical and disciplined team. Oklahoma State, regardless of what you want to say, they probably got one of the top 10 coaches in college football the last 20 years. The last 10 years.
Most consistent.
Yeah.
He's very consistent, no matter what
very
you think
consistent.
about Mike Gundy. Yeah.
Yeah. You're going up against good coaches. Kansas has Lance Leopold, and a lot of people think that he's a damn good coach. You're going up against good coaches, and you got the target on your back every year as Oklahoma in the Big 12. So you got to recognize that as a player and, be ready to bring your shit. Pardon my French.
Definitely. I agree with
And I think that'll happen under Brent.
I do too.
I think we're about ready to wrap it up.
Yeah, we're closing
Unless you got anything else, Emerson, you want to say briefly real quick?
Yeah, so obviously, as Oklahoma fans, we're a spoiled fan base. We all know that. We expect Oklahoma to get 10 wins basically every year in football,
12,
regardless.
10 to 12.
10 to 12.
And a conference championship.
And a conference championship. And if they don't at least compete for the Big 12 championship, it's a wasted season. Don't even bother, recording it. Who cares? That's how it seems sometimes. But we really enjoy some of one of the premier athletic departments across the entire country. Basketball. They're on the up and up, but they also play in the most difficult conference in the country. Without a doubt.
How dare you?
Women's basketball, they started off really hot. I think that coach is going to be a really great hire. Wrestling shared a Big 12 championship with Oklahoma State, who's the blue blood of wrestling in college. So, that's impressive. And then, the summer sport, obviously men's and women's gymnastics, they're always top 5 in the country every single year.
Yeah.
And then you go to the spring. Do I even need to bring up softball? They're the Alabama of softball.
They just skunked UCLA 15-0, advancing to the national championship.
Yeah,
Texas.
they're playing Texas tonight as we're recording this. The game's about to start, in about 30 minutes, so we're all pumped for that. But yeah, they're about to, hopefully win their second natty in softball in 2 years, in a row. Baseball won the Big 12. Golf was one of the top programs in the country all year. They didn't do as well in the postseason as everyone would have liked, but that program's in a good direction. They have a national champion high jumper in track. They got, women's tennis just was second best in the country. They just lost the national championship against Texas, so hopefully softball can avenge that. Across the board, Oklahoma is a very exciting and competitive and downright good program in basically every single freaking sport. So, I just want Oklahoma fans, to recognize that and enjoy Sooner Vision while we have it until we go to the SEC network, because you're going to be able to get, all of those, most of those programs. You're going to be able to watch it and get a lot more content and get a lot more of the Sooners that you know and love across all sports. So,
no more putting our money together and splitting a $60 bill between. The goal was let's get all of our friends over and watch this pay-per-view game. They're going to play this high school team, and we'll split the $60 bill, and we'll just get drunk and watch Oklahoma win 50-0. And still, back to my other point, we don't know how good Oklahoma is at the end of that.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had to determine. We had to figure out. Strategize. Be like, all right, who's got the biggest TV and the best way to view the game? If we're spending $60 on it, we gotta.
Okay, I got Wi-Fi, but I got Dish. Okay, well, I can stream on my Xbox. No, we're just going to... This is what we'll do. Yeah. All right, let's go to my parents' basement. We'll watch it. Emerson, you and me, every year have bought the garbage game they have once a year. I think we're on a streak for 10 years or 12 or 15 or something.
It started in middle school or maybe freshman year of high school. It was, we've been doing it for a while. So
yes, but it was.
Even though the
it's always been worth it. It's always been worth it.
Oh yeah, but now you pay $60 and you get 6 months of ESPN Plus and all the Oklahoma stuff you could ever want. So definitely.
There you go. Okay, well, cool.
That being said, guys, Boomer Sooner, I think that's all we have for right now, and hopefully Oklahoma beats that Texas ass tonight in softball. So let's go.
Get that natty, baby.